Well, good afternoon and welcome to Carpanium in France, where you find myself with James for a week trying on a fishery we've never fished before. So yeah, it's all trial and error. It's a pretty new fishery from what I understand, from what I was told by a French angler earlier. So we arrived here, well, probably 24 hours ago now we've been here. So I got here yesterday afternoon and basically just set up briefly just to get the rods out for the night on reasonable spots. I mean, the bailiff Alex came around and you've already pre-booked your swim, so we're in swim 14, which is a double swim. Will be a little bit tight for the bivvies and yeah, given you now 4 rods each, so 8 rods down on that little platform. Could get interesting if we both have a take together, but nonetheless we're here and yeah, Alex came around, said some spots for us to target really. There are marker poles in the water already which denote the maximum distance that each person can go in their relative swims, which probably isn't a bad idea, otherwise people just take the biscuit, as we all know. So yeah, as I say, yesterday we just literally put the bait boats out with a little bit of bait on spots that Alex told us to target. And then this morning James and I have been out in the boat with the outboard motor with some poles, going in the general areas where Alex has said, but just feeling what's on the bottom, testing the depths. And once we found our spots, then setting the distances on our bait boats, on the autopilot, so we can just keep hitting that same spot with each rod every time. You have to excuse the helicopter going over. Yes, anyway, as I was saying, so we're quite happy now. We found 4 spots each. I've got my rods out on the spots already, and James has just gone for a quick shower, then he's going to get his rods out on the spots before we have a bit of dinner and yeah, hopefully settle in for a night of catching fish. Weather-wise, it's still a bit too warm, pressure's still quite high, but we have got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday some real low pressures coming in and some bit of rain at times, and basically, calling a phrase, carpy weather. So our goal is to stay on those spots, unless we see fish crashing elsewhere in our swim that we can go out to. Stay on those spots, keep trickling the bait in the hope that the fish come along, and we can now, a couple of better fish that are in here. I mean, I did have a bream last night, yeah, not what you're here for, but at least it proved something was visiting the spot where I fished, which actually that rod wasn't a spot that Alex, the owner or bailiff, had told us to fish. So that's a spot I will keep baiting up every night, and probably Thursday night, if I'm struggling, actually fish the spot. Well, they've had a few nights of going in, finding free baits, and hopefully that could be a get out of jail card for us. But you know, Sunday afternoon, we're not talking about being worried what's happened by Thursday, so we're confident. You know, the guy in the swim opposite us had one last night. We don't know how big it was, but yeah, we were sitting out. I think we sat out till about 11 o'clock, so pitch dark, but we heard the run, saw his light go on, saw him land the fish. And there was a French guy in a swim along from us, has gone home today. I couldn't quite work out what he was saying, whether he said he'd been here the week or the weekend, but he'd had 2 fish, biggest one 17.5 kilos. I guess that's getting near 40 pounds, I think, off the top of my head. So yeah, they're the sort of stamp of fish hopefully we're going to be catching whilst we're here this week. So yeah, I'm not going to try not to waffle too much, and hopefully get some action shots, or at least some fish shots as the week goes on. So yeah, catch you up, I say, it'd be nice tonight with a fish, but we'll see. As the week goes on, I will update the vlog, as I do for French vlogs. So yeah, see you then. Yep. Well, good afternoon, and yeah, welcome back. As you would have just seen from a bit of footage I've hopefully slipped in, it was a successful night for James last night, so that was good. I mean, it was a strange night all round. We were expecting a little bit of rain later on in the night, so we were sitting out by the rods, yeah, just watching the water, watching for fish. And it started to rain, and we were meant to get rain, as I say, later on, but not heavy rain. And it started to rain quite heavy, and then the wind picked up, and you can probably hear the wind now. It was gusting, I'd guess, at up to 40 mile an hour last night, and the rain was of biblical proportions. So whereas we had thought we were going to watch England on the iPad playing rugby, instead we were in our bivvies watching it on our phones respectively. And yeah, as I say, the rain was just ridiculous, and the wind, buzzers were bleeping all the time where the rods were moving. There was no way you were going down to those rods, not unless you had a full-on screamer. So time went on, and by the time the rain finally stopped, it was, well, yeah, I was still watching the rugby, and it was a really boring game, and it was only 13-9. So at that point, I had a couple of bleeps on one of my rods, which was the hanger going up and then a drop back. So I put my wet gear on and went out to the rod. And as I got to the rod, the hanger lifted again, and the fish started to take line. So I quickly lifted into the fish and couldn't feel anything, and from there on I was just winding and winding and winding, trying to catch up with the fish that was either not there or swimming towards me. And yeah, it was swimming towards me. I was fishing about 90 yards, whatever, 83 metres is what my navigation system says I'm fishing at, so I think it's about 90 yards. And yeah, I probably connected to the fish briefly at about 30 yards out. It was hardly on, a couple of seconds, and it had gone. You know, we have to use barbless hooks here, and without pressure on the line, as you know, if you're an angler, that's it, the fish is off. So nonetheless, at least I'd had an occurrence. So got the rod back out on the spot. Unfortunately, we're using the Toslan boats with ex-pilots, and the ex-pilot's a navigation system, in case you don't know, and the echo sounders as well, or fish finders, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, it's pretty good to get within a metre. They're probably accurate within a metre. So you're fishing pretty much the same spot, basically, with the ex-pilot. Set the navigation to whatever your waypoint is, save that. Off goes the boat. When it gets to the point, the handset bleeps a couple of times. At that point, just check on your navigation system that you're at the right depth, where you think you should be. Let your bait out and bring the boat back, and you're fishing again. So yeah, that's what we've been doing to make sure we're on the same spots. And as I say, so I'd had that occurrence. I'd got the rod back on the spot, was just setting it up, and then James had a similar bite where it was the hanger went up, he had one bleep, then dropped down a couple, and then just stopped there. So James was just reaching down to adjust his hanger and line, and the fish started peeling line off of him. So he struck into that fish, and not dissimilar to mine, he was just winding like the clappers to get his line back, and he didn't connect to the fish till pretty close in as well. And then once the fish got in, it went mad. A couple of rod lengths out, it was hugging the bottom and just going up and down, up and down. There's plumes of silt and clay and muck coming up, where we just think two things. We think the fish have probably learned if they can get on a slack line, the hook comes out their mouth, they're not hooked. And if they do get into the edge, there's loads of rocks in front of us, and we think they're probably going along the bottom in the hope of cutting the line. So, you know, obviously the fish doesn't know what he's doing, he just knows if he does that, sometimes he gets away. But nonetheless, James successfully landed that mirror, as you saw, and yeah, very nice 42 pound 11, so happy to be off the mark with that one. Put the boat back out on the same spot, and yeah, we went to bed. And then 2 o'clock this morning, I had the same rod again, exactly the same scenario, lifted up, dropped down, then started peeling line, and yeah, lost the fish, long story short. So I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, it's I was going to say a bit more about the complex, but it's very windy, the battery's getting low on the GoPro. I can see I've been waffling for 6 minutes, so it's probably quite boring, this section. So I'm going to wrap it up now and yeah, update it either tomorrow or Wednesday, and hopefully we've had a couple more fish eat. So yeah, see you then. Okay, welcome back, and it's it's Tuesday afternoon now, mid-afternoon. I hadn't intended to actually update the vlog today, but there's been well, for me, quite a productive few hours, and yeah, I'll take you through. So I think when I left you, James had his 42.11. He also had a 22 pounder, 22 common, just off of the one of the snags he's fishing to behind me. And then last night at about 11 o'clock, I had a take on my left-hand rod, which is the spot where, just to the right of where James had the 42 the night before. It's an area we're both baiting up to and both sharing, if you like, both got a rod on it. So yeah, the same as every take we're getting, it's a little drop back, then nothing, and you get on your rod and you're winding for ages before you connect to the fish. And unfortunately, by the time I connected with the fish, it must have been really close to, we think it's a load of boulders or some sort of snags, sort of 70 yards out, 60 yards out, something like that. So yeah, although I was pulling the rod, I couldn't move the fish. I could still feel the fish on the other end pulling it. So albeit it was pitch black, we jumped in the boat and wound down and got ourselves out over the fish, but still couldn't release the line. And yeah, long story short, eventually got everything back bar the lead, which they're set up to drop off anyway, but sadly the fish had gone, so nothing there. And then about 2 o'clock this morning, my right hand rod, same thing. Look, by now I've actually put extra tension on. I'm fishing the lines as tight as they can go. I've changed my hangers to springers, so basically my lines are absolutely dead tight. So at least now a drop back rather than one bleep. It was quite a big drop back, so ran out, got on the rod, usual thing, winding like the clappers, finally getting contact with the fish, and yeah, landed that one. That was a mid-20 grass carp. Didn't bother weighing it or getting the video camera out because it's, like I say, 2 in the morning. We just unhooked him and put him back. So and what else happened then? Then this morning James has had a weird occurrence on the same rod, again fishing that spot that we're sharing, in so much as he had a couple bleeps, took his hanger up, nothing. So he loosened off the clutch on the reel, started taking line. As soon as he struck into it, there was nothing there. So we don't know what that is. Then I think it was about 11 o'clock this morning, maybe earlier, maybe 10:30. My rod on that same spot again, a big drop back, got into it, and as I struck into it, I thought a grass carp jumped by the marker out there, which is, I think it's 130 yards, that marker, 120 metres, something like that. And I said to James, I thought it's a big grassy. Well, that battle went on for ages until probably 30 yards out, the fish launched itself out of the water like a dolphin. And yeah, it was one of the sturgeon I'd hooked. So quite a long battle ensued, and I landed a 44-pound sturgeon. I mean, obviously we're not here for sturgeon, but it was nice to get a decent sized fish on the rod. Yes, it's not a carp, and we're here for, well, me in particular, I'd rather a nice big mirror carp, but yeah, I'll take that sturgeon just to give me a bit of confidence really. The rigs are working, the bait's working and everything, so that was good. I've put that back out. About an hour later, my right hand rod's gone. Again, I'm not going to keep repeating this. We don't know why it's happening, but I've spoken to a couple of other people. When they're getting takes, it's exactly the same. The fish are swimming towards you at 100 mile an hour, and you're getting a little drop back and then winding like the clappers to connect. But yeah, I got that fish in and set the video up just to get something other than me talking on the video. And that was a 30-pound 2-ounce grassy. So I've put that back. Within a metre or so, I know that rod is landing on the same spot. So that's 2 grasses off of that spot. So I've put it back out on the same spot. Basically, you're going out and you're coming to a plateau, and it's 4'5". It slowly goes up from 6'5". Then it quite quick jumped to 4'9". Then you go a bit further and it's 4'5", and that's where I've had 2 of the grasses from. So got over the spot, the ex-pilot bleeped, so I was there, quick look on the feature finder or depth finder or fish finder, whatever you want to call it. Yep, 4'5". Let the hoppers open, bait down, and again I've just put back. I've had another take on there, and a 31-pound 8-ounce grassy. So again, whilst I'm not particularly here for grass carp, I don't mind catching them. I quite like grass carp, but I'm just hoping I found a spot where fish will feed, so I'm just going to keep putting the bait in and topping it up in the hope at some point the grass carp move out and the mirror carp or common carps move in, and we can get a couple of kosher carp, if you like, for want of a better word. So that's where we are. James hasn't had any more, and it's very hard. Fish just don't show on here. They're not, I don't know why, you've got to be, they do subtle little rolls. With the wind we've got now and everything, you cannot see a subtle little roll. So we're struggling to locate different areas to fish to. Knowing the areas we are fishing to are struggling. That said, the only rod that's not had any indications or any fish whatsoever is my middle rod. My fourth rod I've had bream on, so the right hand rod I've had grass carp on, middle rod I've had the left hand rod I've had the sturgeon on and bream on. I think the middle rod I've not even had bream on. You know, I'm not trying to catch bream, but I have not had a fish on that rod. So that rod I've now found another place. I think it's part of the same 4'5" plateau, but quite a bit along, and I'm going to start feeding that spot up tonight and fishing that in the hope that, because I'm picking up fish in 4'5" of water, I can pick up some more. But yeah, other than that, we're struggling really to locate fish at the moment. But you know, the weather, as I said yesterday, it just gets better as the week goes on. I mean, Thursday, on a personal note, is pretty horrendous. It is rain all day long, but the air pressure drops down to 999. You know, we're joking. We might be hauling Thursday, freezing cold, soaking wet, but we'll still be happy because we're catching fish. So yeah, so that's where we are for now. I'm going to leave the vlog here because otherwise I'm just talking too much. And yeah, update you maybe tomorrow. If we, as I always say, if we can get some fish worth getting on the camera, there'll be updates. But yeah, I don't want to just be a vlog about waffle. Yeah, maybe towards the end of the week I'll talk you through rigs and everything and what we've done and a general feel for the lake. But yeah, for now, that's it. And yeah, I'll see you next time I update this. Well, good morning, and yeah, just a little 2-minute update on what happened and what didn't happen last night. I've got up early this morning. It was still dark when I got up, and I just put fresh baits on every rod. So I just thought, you know, I fish a lot of days, and it's never a bad thing. You turn up in a day, put the baits out. Sometimes within an hour, I've had a fish. So I've got this morning, put fresh baits out. I sat here as daylight's come up, and yeah, just watching the lake. One of the big sturgeons just showed down there, come right out of the water. And as I talk, it looks like the guy opposite me may be bringing a fish in. He certainly stood up. It looks to me like he's bringing a fish in. No, maybe not. Maybe he was just winding in. Anyway, last night I had my first proper carp, 30 pound 6 ounce mirror. So I'm very happy with that. And that was on my 4th rod, which I just put it out in an area that's not had anybody fishing it well, since we got here, to be honest. So we've seen the odd fish out there. So yeah, just put the bait boat out, kept taking it out, monitoring the depth as it was going. I mean, it is weird. You go over a really shallow shelf, which I think it was 2.5 foot or 2'9", something like that. Then you drop down, and then you come back up to the 4'5", and that's where I've been having the grass cut from, 4'5", and that's where I dropped the baits. And it was only out an hour, and yeah, as I say, very happy with a 30 pound 6 ounce mirror carp. So hopefully the big boys get on the feed in the next 24-48 hours. Nothing occurred for James last night, but as I said yesterday when I updated this, we've got the whole day tomorrow forecast biblical rain, strong winds. It's going to happen. I'm sure it will happen, and hopefully we're both walking away with a lump or two under our belts when we go home Saturday. Anyway, that's it for now, and yeah, update the vlog. Yeah, probably tomorrow from the bivvy in the pouring rain. So see you then. Well, good afternoon and welcome back. It's now 4:30ish on Thursday afternoon, and I've sort of lost where I am on the updates on the logs. Normally I'd bring my laptop out and be editing them as the week goes along, but I haven't this time. I just thought I'd do them all at home, so I may repeat some of the things I'd already said, but hopefully not. Prior to this little introduction, you hopefully have just seen a bit of action of James playing a fish and ultimately landing a 46 pound 11 mirror. Very nice fish. We're just fortunate. I was down here, had the camera, had the GoPro by me when James got the pick up about 11 o'clock. So set it all running, videoed him, and we went up the top to get a nice background for the photos. So hopefully they've already appeared or they're sliding in as I talk. And I don't think I've updated the log since then. So it's been a bit frustrating really. We can't understand why we can't get on the fish or anything. I mean, since I think when we last spoke, I think I'd had a I don't know, I may have only had the sturgeon. I've now had the sturgeon. I've had a 30 pound 6 ounce mirror. I had a 24 pound 9 mirror last night. And I've had 3 or 4 grass carp. Definitely had a 30 and a 31 grass, 4 grass carp. Had a mid-20 that I put back without weighing, and this morning I've had a upper 20 without weighing and put it back. I mean, this morning we've had 14 hours of rain, which I think was how I probably ended my last bit, saying, we've got rain forecast for Thursday. Well, that forecast was right. We've had 14 hours of rain, been pretty much stuck in the bivvy really for those 14 hours, other than, we've been out in the boat in the rain as well. This morning I had a few indications of my right hand rod and it got snagged up, and fortunately James was willing to go out in the boat with me in the rain, because I've never driven the boat or anything before. I've rowed them, but I can't row them if I've got the rod. And I was snagged. I think I say before, I go over, for that right hand rod I'm going over a 2'6" or 2'9" plateau, and it's a big plateau. And then you drop off the other side. That's where the 30 pound 6 ounce mirror came from. And when I was winding him in, I was definitely coming through something. You don't know what, you suspect they're boulders, but as you're doing the rod, you're getting this, as you're expecting the line to cut, but it doesn't, or it didn't that time. And I got that one in. But the same thing happened with this. It got to the where it's chafing or grinding, and all snagged solid. So James took me out in the boat this morning. We got to where the line was, and it pinged off a boulder or whatever it is, and then the line was going down there. And long story short, it was only a small tench on there. So we'd both got all our wet gear on and gone out in the boat for a tench. But nonetheless, I was snagged up anyway, so I would have had to go out to get that line back in. So plans now, we're going to have a bit of a change now. We're taking it now as if we're turning up. We've got a 48-hour session, in so much as the rod that James and I both share a spot on. Yes, James had the 42 off it. I've had the sturgeon off of it. But we have not had a sniff off of that spot now for 3 days. And coots have been on it all day today diving. So there's no fish going there eating the bait. The fact that coots have been there all day picking up baits means it's all there. So I'm definitely coming off of that, and I'm going to move into a little channel only 30 yards out, 35 yards out, and it's 10 foot deep. We haven't fished in deep water. Just see in case they're going up and down the deep channels and we don't know it. So that's the plan for one of my rods. One of my rods is going to now go on a tree with 8 foot of water, where I've been baiting it up every night but not fishing it, in the hope that fish have got used to going into there and getting free food at night. The only bait that will be in there tonight is my one hook bait, so that's a trial on there. the rod that I go over the 2'6" plateau, although I've had one fish from there, it's too hard to get them in. So what I've done, I've put the boat out today with the fish finder on it, and I've just found exactly where that plateau is, and basically the plateau runs that way. I've come up to it with the boat, and you get 4 foot, I think it is, or 4'8", just before the plateau, and then it's a steep rise up to 2'6". So I'm going to fish at the bottom of the plateau or the drop off, in the hope that, you know, a lot of bait probably rolls down that plateau to there when people are fishing. Hopefully I can pick up fish from there. I'm not sure what James is going to do. He's going to persevere on his snag. He's been out again on the boat, the snag tree, and again, why there aren't fish there, in both of us, our experience are snags like that, there are always fish in there. But yeah, so he's going to persevere on there. I think he's going to persevere with 2 rods on his plateau out there where he's had a fish from. Had a couple of bream takes as well, unfortunately. I'm not sure what he's going to do with his other rod. Rigs wise as well, none of us have been trying pop up, so I think I'm going to try pop up at least on one of my rods. We've been doing wafters or snowmen, simply because the bottoms are clear. You don't need to have the bait off the bottom. But we'll see, we'll give it a go. As I say, we've got 48 hours now to try and get on some fish. So, you know, at the moment James is on his 3, I'm on 2 actual carp. Yes, there's been 4 grasses and the sturgeon, but I'd like a couple more proper carp, and hopefully one of the 40s, a 50 would be even better, not being greedy. Obviously we've both had bream and tench as well, but yeah, so if you was a general fisherman, you're okay with your week, but as an out and out carp session, we're struggling a bit. But yeah, hopefully update this with some more fish over the next 2 days, and then wrap it up yeah, probably Friday afternoon, evening, because we're off really early Saturday. Okay, see you then. Right, good morning and welcome back. Yeah, Friday morning now. It's well, I was going to say it's early. It's not that early. It's 7:30. It doesn't get light till 8 o'clock here. So just a quick wrap up on what happened in the night. There was nothing for James. My rod out on the spot where I kept getting the grass from, I had a huge bream on that at 1 o'clock this morning. Put the rod back out, and yeah, about 2 o'clock I actually had a proper screaming run off of a carp, leaned into the fish, and it was kiting off to my right, so over that way. It's yeah, I suppose it was on for about 2 minutes, but it was stripping line off the reel, and then unfortunately had a cut off. Not on the leader. The leader, you know, they're never going to cut off, or very unlikely to cut off, but yeah, a cut on the main line. So you know, the leaders are, I think I've got about 8 metre leaders on, and the rules are 6 to 8 metres. So yeah, quite a lot of line was out when it got cut off, and to be honest, I haven't put that rod back out yet. It's sitting up there, all needs resetting up. What I have done again, and I did it straight after there in the dark, I just wound in 2 of the rods, and bit of a nick one and pearl one in the pitch black, and my head torch isn't that good, but yeah, I put 2 rods on one spot with a bait boat. So they're out there now, nothing's happened, and yeah, I'm going to move the right hand rod, the one that I had on the tree. Nothing's happened there. I'm pretty certain nothing's coming down the margins, or as deep as they are. It's not coming down the margins now it's daylight. So that one is it's a shit or bus one. I've gone over the top of that 2.6 bar again. The thought process now is, if I get a take on that, it's to get in the boat straight away and get out over the fish rather than try and wind them in. Yeah, but I shall, hopefully it doesn't keep raining today. It wasn't meant to. We were going to pack up and sleep under the stars, but yeah, as you can probably see, it's raining right now. So yeah, I'll update the vlog this afternoon. hopefully one of us has had a fish or two this morning. Just talk a little bit about the lake and the rules and things and our thoughts on it really. Okay, so yeah, see you then. Okay, welcome back. Let's try and wrap this vlog up. It's the sun's out and the weather's been up and down like a yo-yo this week. But yeah, anyway, it's probably not been as good a week as we would have liked. That said, we've got 18 hours left, so as we all know in fishing, it only takes one fish to turn an average week into a fantastic week. So fingers crossed that happens. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the fishery. The fishery itself is probably the cleanest fishery I've ever been to. Alex, a guy who leases it and runs it all, I guess owns the fish, very proud of his fishery, very helpful person. The grass is manicured. If you look over the other side, it looks like I'm looking at a golf course. When you're walking around it, all the grass is cut nicely. Speak to him, he says he tries to do it every 9 days. Swims when you arrive are immaculate, not a cigarette end or a bit of line or anything, so that's all very good. Toiletries between, I think it's every 2 swims there's a dry toilet. Dry toilets are immaculate. Again, Alex comes around every day, keeps them clean, so that's all you could want. There's a flush toilet down by the lodge. I've not actually used that even, but James tells me it's all clean and good. The lodge itself has a nice shower in there. It's hot, it's clean. There's a big freezer in there, and that's full of frozen water bottles. So because there's no fridges here, you bring your cool box. Every day you can go down and take frozen bottles out, put your cool packs in. The next day, take your cool packs out, put the waters back in, and vice versa for the whole week. So you've always got cold food, cold drinks, whatever, as long as you've brought a cool box with you. And you could put your bait in there if you need to keep your bait frozen. So that's all good. The swims themselves are, I've walked around, I was going to say the whole lake. I've not walked around the other side. I've done all of this side. So swims 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 14 that we're in, 13 and 12. So 12, 13 and 14 double swims. I would say 14, you've probably got the most water of any swim, but it's a bit tight for your rod, especially as you're allowed 4 rods. But yeah, I think had we had a double take at any point, it may have been a bit of nittle 1, pearl 2, but yeah, we haven't, so it hasn't been a problem. But it is a little bit tight down here. Plenty of room for your 2 bivvies up there. Every swim has a table and bench in it, so you can sit down, have your meals. All in all, it is a very nicely set out venue. I've already spoke about Alex. You couldn't get a nicer bailiff than him / owner. So yeah, big up to Alex. Access in and out of the complex is very easy. You're given a code for the gate, so you can come and go as you please. Shops, it's not an Intermarché, but there's a supermarket. I don't know, 5 minutes down the road maybe not even 5 minutes in your car. So very easy to go and get food and supplies and bits and bobs. Fishing itself, the rules, 4 rods, which is always a bonus. You know, you feel a bit more, or I feel a bit more obliged to have a bit of trial and error on if you've got a full rod to move around. You must have a 6 to 8 metre snag leader. I've got, I think it's 50 or 55 pound Korda XT line, and that's simply a 4-turn, might be a grinner knot or a blood knot on the leader side of the line, and a 5-turn blood knot or granny knot, whatever knot it is. I think it's a blood knot, to be honest. 4-turn and 5-turn blood knots, and they're just gently teased up towards each other with saliva on the line, so you don't overstretch the line, it doesn't get too hot. And they never give way. Hooks, barbless hooks, not my favourite, but I do understand there are a lot of boulders and things out there when you go out there, and if you get snagged and snap off, the fish need to be able to get off of that. You have an option to hire a rowing boat which comes with a life jacket, 2 oars for €100 for the week. I would definitely advise taking that option up, because we've certainly the first day we were out in the boat feature finding, albeit Alex told you lots of spots to look at, and we do have depth finders obviously on our bait boats as well, but not everyone does have. So I would advise having them, and a couple of times we've been snagged up. It's both times we've never lost any line because we've had the boat and be able to get over the snag, or when the time when I hooked up the tench over one snag and the line pinged out and it was actually around another snag, and we got round there and the tench was still on the end. So yeah, definitely I would advise getting the boats. Fish wise, yeah, we've probably struggled. Everyone's struggled this week. I mean, the weather has been up and down. We've gone from, and it's probably in the vlogs when I look back and edit it, one day I've got shorts and t-shirt on, the next day I've got a top on. Last night we had hats on, coats on, everything. It was freezing last night. Lots of rain. I don't think that's helped the fishing. The lake itself reminds me of how the fish move of another lake we've fished a few times, Jontry, in so much as the fish are really influenced by the wind. When we arrived, there was a couple of Welsh guys up in swim 12, and on the first 2 days with the wind, it was sort of southeasterly hacking down there. The first 2 days, the guy at the furthest end had 6 fish, no good or no big ones, but he nonetheless 6 fish, all 20s. The person fishing with him, so this side of the swim, had only had 1 take and unfortunately lost that at the net. We were picking up the odd fish, I think, as they were heading down that way, and then the wind turned to a southwesterly, west-southwesterly, which takes you down into the other end of the lake, swim 1. And again, James and I were picking up fish, I think, as they were heading down. And a French chap, the French chap in the swim next to us, swim 6, he was picking up the odd fish the same way. And then Monday, a French chap went in to swim 1, and he had 9 fish in 3 days and nights, because obviously the fish are holding up down there. And I think they still are holding up down there, which hasn't helped us. The other thing that probably hasn't helped us, James and I were picking up roughly 1 take a night between us off of our post or marker that is out in the water, which is 125 wraps. The marker's probably another 125 wraps, no, 31 wraps, 125 yards, I think that is. And yeah, and we're probably 20 yards short of the marker, maybe 10 yards short of the marker. I think what hasn't helped us since Monday, the 2 German guys came in opposite us. They've done the same. They're probably even closer to the marker than we are. And for 2 days, they've just piled in bait on there. And I think that's affected us. When we had that spot in our own, we were probably putting out 300 baits. So, yeah, 2 hook baits, 300 baits. So, yeah, 150 to 1, the chance of our hook bait getting picked up. So, each evening, one of us got a pick up. Since the German guys have put the baits out, we're probably 1,500 to 1, and our hook baits haven't been picked up, and nor of theirs. I mean, Alex walked around yesterday and he was saying between the 2 of them they've had 1 fish all week, or since they've been here. So yeah, I think they probably killed the swim, but just my personal opinion. James has had, where he's been fishing, off to the snag tree. You can see it over my left shoulder, probably right shoulder as you're looking at the screen. But that overhanging tree, there's a marker pole in the water. James had his 22 common off of there. Then I think it's, again, I'm trying to see where I'm pointing, but out there, I think James said it's about 100 yards, and he's got a plateau there. He had his 42 No, he had his 4611 mirror off of there, and his 42 mirror was off the 125 yards spot out there, as I've already said, where we were sharing that spot. I've had the 44 sturgeon off that same spot, and lost a fish off of that spot where we went out in the boat, and unfortunately the fish had freed itself, but we managed to get everything back. I've then had my banker spot has been my right hand rod is at 93 yards, fishing 4'5" of water, and I think I've had the upper double the mid 20 grassy that I didn't weigh and we put back, so it was in the night. An upper 20 grassy we didn't weigh and put back yesterday. Had a 30-pound grassy and a 31 grassy off of that spot. And then my fourth rod, which is going out over that 2'9" plateau, and again into 4'5" of water, I had the 30-pound 6 ounce off of that. Oh, and the tension snagged me up. Another thing is my middle rod had the 24.9 common, I think it was, in the night, which we didn't take any photos of. So yeah, fishery as a whole, I'm trying not to waffle on too much. As a whole, fishery, would I come back here? If I come back to France, this is a fishery I would definitely consider coming to. I'm sure it fishes better than it has this week, which again, as I've said, I think that's to do with the weather, the fact the wind's pretty much been one way other than when we first arrived, and maybe possibly on one spot we were done up by our competitive anglers on the opposite bank, who in our opinion are still putting in too much bait when the fish aren't feeding that heavily, whereas we've reduced the bait we're putting in to try and get our takes. But yeah, all in all, certainly a swishery. That's because I've had a beer. All in all, definitely a fishery I would consider coming back to. If you've got a trip booked out here, yeah, enjoy yourselves and listen to Alex. Yeah, he definitely knows his fishery. He'll put you on some spots where if the fish are up for it, they will certainly give you a good week here. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. And yeah, see you on the bank again sometime.